on digital radio, on the app, on your smart, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. The Sportscast. Football in general.
The Donut Bag presented by The Sportscast.
The Donut Bag, hosted by Joey Bag of Donuts. And here's your host, Joey Bag of Donuts.
Well, it's time for our monthly check-in on the Penguins, and what a month it has been. This might be one of the most eventful months in a while for the Penguins. The last time we talked was December 7th, and a few days after that, they made the trade of Jari to the Oilers for Skinner and Kulak in a second round draft pick in 2029. Were you surprised that they were able to trade Jari in, or do you think that was a good deal?
It must have been listening when we were talking, because he had played a really good game right before that. And I said, trade him now. He's at his highest value.
That's right.
So maybe Kyle Dubas is listening to the Donut Bag podcast.
There you go.
But I would say it's wizardry that he was able to get what he got, considering any team in the NHL could have had him for free last year.
Right. He was on waivers.
Yeah, anybody could have claimed him. And to get a very serviceable defenseman, a goalie that has made the last two Stanley Cup finals, and a second round pick, that's pretty amazing. And then, feel bad for Jari. He got hurt like right after he got there. But I was surprised at what they were able to get for him. I thought it would be more of a straight up like Skinner for Jari and maybe like a sixth round pick or something like that. But man, I mean, I know that they had to do some cap maneuvering, and that's probably why they ended up with Kulak. But kudos. That's all I could say.
That's how I feel. It's like
and no retained salary.
Yeah. That you figured at least you had to. I mean, you had to keep some of that salary or something. But how long is Skinner? Is Skinner done after this year? Or
Yeah,
is his contract up?
He's only signed through the end of this season.
Perfect.
Which makes sense, because they probably want Miroshov to, be here next season or even at the end of this season. But he's actually been struggling a little bit in Wilkes-Barre. He's been pulled in his last two starts, which is a little concerning. But, goalies, especially young goalies like him, will go through their ups and downs. So,
but it's best for him to be down there, right? It's best for him to be playing all the time, working through these issues, instead of being up here, playing once every 2 or 3 games or whatever he would do. So it's like, work it out. You're young. Do your thing.
Yeah, I mean, you have a goalie up here that, like I said, has made it to the Stanley Cup final the last 2 years, so he knows what he's doing. He seems to be getting more comfortable. Shelovs is really struggling. Like I'm to the point now with him where maybe he only plays in back-to-back situations. Like this rotation that they were doing, I think if the goal is to make the playoffs, that Skinner should probably be getting like a 70-30 split. Now Shelovs has won I think the last 2 games he started, but they were shaky. They won in overtime in both of them. So we'll see. I mean, Miroshov is probably the better goalie of the two between him and Shelovs, but they want Miroshov down there getting time, being the starting goalie, getting the workload, and that's probably the right thing to do.
And that's really what it's all about. They're not. It seems like their goal this year wasn't, we got to make the playoffs or something like that. It seems like the goal was, let's develop the young people, and whatever happens. And oh, by the way, they might make the playoffs. So, how much do you think Dan Hughes has to do with that? It seems like he's been he has a big impact on how this team is doing.
Yeah, I think that we talked about this maybe 2 months ago when they were playing really well to start the season. I think that the team has really bought into his systems. I think that they're bought into the way he wants to play, strong defensive game. And I think that they kind of got away from that a little bit when they lost. I think it was 7 out of 8. They were blowing leads left and right. And, they, for whatever reason, they kind of got away from that strong defensive game. Hey, you're going to blow a lead a couple of times a year, but the way that they lost to San Jose and Utah in back-to-back days, it was almost like their confidence was shot for maybe 4, 5, 6 games there because they just kept on blowing those leads. But to your question, yeah, I think Muse is really putting his stamp on this team, and I think the team has really bought into the way that he wants to play, and I think they're getting back to that game that they were playing earlier on in the season. For whatever reason, like I said, I think they got away from it for that stretch of like 10 games there where they lost 7 out of 8. But obviously the last 5, beating the 2 top teams in the Eastern Conference, coming back from a 3-goal deficit against Columbus, they're playing really well right now. And, as I've said to you in the past, this season is going to have a lot of ups and downs to it. I just didn't think they'd be this extreme where they lose. I think it was 7 games in a row, and now they've won 5 games in a row.
It's up and down. Yeah, it's
they're right where I thought they would be in the standings. Right, they're the 8th seed right now, the second wild card. But the way that they've arrived at their record is not the way that I saw it happening. I figured it'd be like, okay, they'll win 2, lose 2, win 3, lose 2. Yeah, not the extreme that we've seen here.
Win 7, lose 7, win 7. Yeah, it's crazy. That stretch in December was, they lost 9 of 10 during a 17-day stretch in December. They blew 3 goal leads in 2 of those games. They gave up a shorthanded game-tying goal with 0.1 seconds left in another. It was just heartbreaking loss after heartbreaking loss. And it was like, they would have a 2 or 3 goal lead in the third period, and we all said, here it comes. And it did. It was just, I've never saw anything like it.
It was unbelievable. That game where they gave up the goal with 1/10 of a second left, I just shook my head. And then they kept on finding new ways to lose, blowing I think it was a 3-goal lead to Utah. I think it was a 4-goal lead to San Jose. And like you said, lost 9 out of 10. At that point, I'm talking to people saying, well, maybe they'll get a high lottery pick. And now they're within
the playoffs
within points of being the leader in the division. There's still a good distance between them and Carolina, but it's within striking distance. And 2 weeks ago we were talking about lottery picks.
Yeah. When that they were in that huge slump, I heard talk of, oh boy, Dan Hughes, he just can't handle it. He's just this is it for him. Maybe he'll be maybe he'll be the new Mike Johnston.
Yeah.
But hey, they've pulled out of it. It's very impressive. One thing I've heard that he's done is he plays the 4th line a lot. And it's so much. You can't call them a 4th line when they're playing like the second most minutes of any of all the lines. So, how good has Connor Dewar, Blake Lizotte, and Noah Chari been?
Man, when I was talking to some people around the team, journalists, and some of them were talking about how key of a player or key of a loss Blake Lizotte was. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. He fills a role. He penalty kills. He plays on the 4th line, brings that energy, blocks shots. I underestimated how key of a person or a player he is in that lineup, because when he left the lineup for injury, it kind of shifted everybody around into roles that maybe they weren't comfortable with. And it just really kind of messed up the chemistry of the team. Now, obviously, he's not Sidney Crosby. He's not Erik Karlsson. But, man, is he a key part of that fourth line. And, man, Noel Chari, he's out there blocking shots. He's one of the few guys on the team that can, hold his own in a fight. Not that the Penguins are doing a lot of that, but he brings that. And Connor Dewar, he seems to have kind of found his niche on that fourth line. It's a very good fourth line, and I think that is part of the reason that they've been successful in these past 5 games. They're just rolling 4 lines, and like you said, the fourth line, they're getting a lot more minutes than a typical fourth line, and they're playing a lot of key minutes and penalty killing. There's been a lot of games lately with a lot of penalty minutes, and those guys are out there, like I said, killing penalties, blocking shots, and they're really important parts of this team. And I know we've talked in the past, like, they got to get younger. Why are there guys like Noah Chari and guys like that on the Blake Lizotte on the team? But maybe they're part of the future. Maybe, I mean, they're not 40 years old. They're not 38 years old. Maybe those guys, they fill a role, and they're filling the role really well right now. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But right now they're a really hard line to play against, and they're scoring some goals even.
You need players like that. It can't all be stars.
Yeah, and it can't all be rookies.
Yeah. When was then you'd be well, I was going to say not Buffalo, because the Buffalo's actually winning. You'd be one of those teams that like lose all the time. But when was the last time they had a good fourth line? Like, it's been years. Decades? I don't know. It's been a long time.
I mean, I've made the joke with you several times. You can't tell in past seasons, you can't tell where the second line ends and the fourth line begins, because everything under the second line was just, to borrow a phrase from another broadcaster, a hodgepodge of nothingness. But, this year is a lot different. The roles are very defined. The lines are very defined, and everybody's kind of, filling the role that they were brought in to fill. And when this team's healthy, everybody kind of slots into their role, and that's what's making this team successful. And, don't forget about Evgeny Malkin. He'll be back hopefully soon. I know he's skating. He has been skating. Insert him back in the lineup on that, towering second line with Brazo and Mantha, and you might really have something here.
That line was on fire when Malkin was in there. I mean, they're still doing well, but that line was on fire when Malkin was there. And yeah, Malkin will be back hopefully soon. But then what happens to Tommy Novak?
Yeah,
is he going to be a scratch?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the question. Do you slot everybody down and maybe Connor Dewar's the scratch? Or do you just take Tommy Novak out and put Malkin in? And that's these are good problems for Dan Hughes to have. A couple of weeks ago when they were losing 9 out of 10, it was like, take everybody out of the lineup.
Who do we put in here?
Who do we put in here? But they're bringing guys up from Wilkes-Barre like Dan Heinen to fill roles, and now he's in Columbus. So So it'll be interesting when Malkin comes back to see what the lineup will look like and who comes out. But it's a good problem to have.
Speaking of Heinen, he was involved in that trade for Yegor Chinakhov.
Mm-hmm.
Was Heinen a 26 second round pick and a 27 third round pick? It sounds like this was an opportunity. Chinakhov did not want to play with Columbus anymore. I don't blame him.
Yeah,
it seemed like a great opportunity, and I love it because I think now we know why Dubas accumulated all these draft picks. Like, he's not just keeping them for the future. He's for the times like this where you could get a good player just for some draft picks.
Yeah. I mean, we saw this before with Rutger McGroarty. He didn't want to play in Winnipeg, and they were able to make that deal with what was his name? Yeager, I think, the guy that went to Winnipeg, a swap of first round picks. I think it's a great move. I was actually a little bit surprised that Columbus would trade him in the division, but I guess it was the right move for them. And I think that I love that line with him and McGroarty and Kindle. I think that's a really good line. I know McGroarty was a healthy scratch the other day, but I think that was just more load management than anything. I really like that line. It's got energy. Give him and Kindle some time to really like get on the same page. I think that they're both like really creative playmakers, and that's a really solid third line. I know we were talking about the fourth line earlier. That's also a really solid third line that's hard for a lot of teams to match up against.
Well, now you have a kid line and too many kids. Chinikov, Kindle at center, the Koivunen and McGroarty. Maybe they'll just do load management and just take turns and rotate those guys. But that's another nice problem to have.
Yeah.
Too many young players playing well on the big team.
Yeah, I mean that's probably what I would do. Honestly, I would just rotate the young guys in and out. Chinikov is a little bit older than those guys, so maybe you keep him in and just rotate McGroarty, Koivunen, and Kindle. And Kindle's played pretty much every game since that one game when he was a healthy scratch for load management. But and maybe back to backs, you give him a rest as well. But again, a good problem to have, and we'll see what that line looks like moving forward. But they seem to be developing some chemistry.
Is Kindle a time traveler or an alien, or is he actually like 100 years old or something? Is he a vampire or something? Like, I can't believe someone this young is this good already. Like the plays he makes, the things he does game after game. It's just, he ain't no rookie.
No, there are certain players in the league when you watch them, you're like, this guy is really good. When I watch like Malkin, Celebrini for the Sharks, and obviously Crosby for the Penguins, and Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, and guys like that. You just watch them and you're like, they're dangerous every time they touch the puck. And I feel like that's how Kindle is. He just has that burst, the hands, the creativity, and I think he's dangerous every time he touches the puck. And one issue I do have with Dan Hughes is I think Kindle should be on the top power play unit.
Oh yeah.
When he was on the top power play unit, he was kind of running the power play. They were kind of running the power play through him, and he did not look intimidated at all on the ice with four guys who are going to be in the Hall of Fame in the future. Yeah. He did not look intimidated at all. I don't know if it's like load management or like maybe too much responsibility for him, because I have seen him out there in games where there's a lot of penalties, like penalty killing as well. On I think it was New Year's Day, he took a couple shifts to penalty kill. So maybe it's more just like responsibility management, load management, that he's not on the top unit. But I know the power play has been good, but I think it'd be even better with him out there. I just think I know they're trying to use like Mantha or Brazeau for that like bigger body, but I think I'd rather have Kindle out there. And I don't have many complaints for Dan Hughes, but that would be one of them.
Yeah, because when he was on that top power play, he was amazing. So it's like, yeah, that's weird. Another deal that was made on December 31st, they traded Philip Tomasino to the Flyers for Igor Zamula, who decided not to show up to work. Yeah. got fired. That wasn't much of a loss though, because from what it sounds like, he wasn't very good anyway.
Yeah, I think that was kind of, let's throw this at the wall and see if it sticks, and it didn't. And I got to be honest with you, I forgot Phil Tomasino was still a rostered player for the Penguins. I just had completely forgotten about him. So I guess they put him on waivers for the purposes of terminating his contract. but yeah, I guess that was a experiment gone wrong. Also surprising, a trade within the division, but it's such a low level trade. It's not like trading Crosby for Claude Giroux or Claude Giroux doesn't play for the Flyers anymore, but you know what I mean.
It's the second biggest trade between in team history between the Penguins and the Flyers. The other one was the Rick Tocchet.
Yeah.
Was Recchi.
Kenny Reggett. Yeah.
I got Kenny Reggett too. Yeah.
Kenny Reggett. Yeah. Mark Recchi. Yeah.
It's a close second to that trade. And from what I understand, the Penguins actually save $1 million on this deal, and something about they open up a contract slot, whatever that means. That you're only supposed to have so many contracted players, so that opens up a slot, and that's good for them or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of like technicalities that happen since he didn't report. It's way in the back of the CBA.
Another tiny minor thing that happened is the team got sold.
Yeah.
There's a new owner. Now I'm guessing it's not going to take effect until probably next year or something.
They usually have the owners meetings in February in Florida, but I don't know if that's going to happen this year because of the Olympics. But that they need the board of governors to approve the sale. But I mean, all of this has been made public, so I would imagine that they wouldn't have done that if they didn't know that it wasn't going to get approved. I'll say the same thing that a lot of other people have said. It's a little concerning to me that their net worth is $2 billion and they bought the team for $1.7 billion. That's a little concerning to me from a business perspective. But hey, they're smart. They're obviously smarter than I am, so they must know what they're doing, and the NHL must not be too concerned. Like I said, otherwise I don't think this would have gotten out there if they didn't intend on approving it. But that is a little concerning. Like, does this mean that they're not going to spend to the cap? Like, there's a lot of questions that come to my mind when I see those two numbers being so close to each other. But I guess only time will tell.
Well, FSG made a pretty penny. I think they bought it for like $900 million and they sold it for $1.7 million. So that's a nice return on investment there. But that is my concern also. For me, this feels like Bob nutting.
Yes,
that scares me. That scares me that they're just going to be too cheap. I know there's a cap, but I understand that I can't imagine. I don't know how profitable hockey teams are, year to year. I mean, obviously you're profitable when you sell it, but I don't know. It is a little concerning.
Yeah. I mean, they do own an ECHL team, the Florida Everblades. So they do have a little bit of hockey knowledge from owning the ECHL team. So that helps for sure. But yeah, it's just a little concerning, the kind of net worth versus what they paid for the team. But maybe they have some other investors lined up that are going to kind of take care of that problem.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I hope it works out because basically FSG owning them has been, I don't want to say a failure, but it feels like they were just part of some corporate conglomerate, which they kind of were.
Absolutely.
When you're just in a group of other teams and the other teams are some of the most popular teams in the world, I mean, I think LeBron James is a minority owner in FSG or something like that.
He is. Yeah.
And he didn't even acknowledge that I saw him rocking a Columbus Blue Jackets jersey once. Like,
yeah. And he's, you would have thought that he could have been like a face of like, hey, when they bought the team, like, hey, send LeBron down to the Penguin game just to, make an appearance like that. That was the one thing. I don't think FSG did anything wrong during their tenure here. They spent to the cap and, brought in players that they thought would help the team, or allowed that to happen, I should say. They were always spending up up to the cap, but they never really had that face of the ownership that people could identify with. I mean, not every scenario is going to have like Mario Lemieux, or Jerry Jones, or, Arthur Blank, or even the Rooneys for that matter. Some teams you really don't know, or you can't put a face in a name, to the ownership group. But I hope with this group, they'll be more present. And I hope that they're going to pick up the phone and give Mario a call and say, hey, we want you to be involved somehow, some way, even Yager, give Yager a call, say, hey, we want you to be involved, somehow, some way here. We want people that have been important to this franchise to be a part of its future. And I hope that call is already taking place.
You have a rich history of so many wonderful moments and so many wonderful players that you could tap into. But yeah, I think that's the worst thing FSG did, was they pissed off Mario and Mario stayed away. So hopefully just make up a position or something like that. Just make him advisor or something like that, or ambassador or something like that. Just Mario just being around would be huge.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously had some interest in buying the team back. So I don't know how present he would have been if that did happen. But I mean, give the guy a suite and say, hey, come to the game anytime you want. This is your suite. We're going to have you listen. Mario was never interested in like doing public appearances and things like that, but just to have him at a game every once in a while, have him here when Sid keeps on breaking his records and, things like that. I think that the fans love seeing Mario around. And I think that it would be really smart of the Hoffman group to get him involved somehow or some way.
Yeah. Onto the defense, it seems like Carlson is still playing amazing, and their Penguins are finally getting what they thought they would be getting from Carlson. But Letang, is he slipping? Is he becoming a liability?
He's struggling. I won't call him a liability, but I think the last time we talked, I talked about like load management. Maybe he doesn't play on the penalty kill anymore, or they alredy put him on the second power play unit. Maybe he doesn't kill penalties anymore. I talked about this the last time too, like in a game where the outcome is very clearly defined. If they're winning 5-0, losing 5-0, maybe let him just take a break. It's not in his nature. I understand that. And it's probably really difficult for Dan Muse to tell a guy like that, like, hey, why don't you, we're going to take the third period off tonight. We're losing 5-0. Like, let's just take the third period off tonight. Load management. I think he just needs to simplify his game. I think that he's still trying to do the things he did when he was, 25 years old, and now he's 37 years old, and it's just father time. It's just, you can't do the same things you did when you were 25, when you're 37, unless you're Sidney Crosby. He's just the exception to the rule. He's the Tom Brady of the NHL. I think if he would just simplify his game and not try to do all, lead the offense and take offensive chances and risks. And there was a play in the game against Detroit on Saturday where, I don't know, like sometimes you wonder what he's thinking. Like it was very clearly a puck that was going to rim around and come out of the zone, but he pinched into the zone to join the offense. And that's when Detroit went back the other way and scored a goal, their only goal of the game. And that could have been deflating. And in past it has been, because up until that point, they were dominating play. Like I think they had limited Detroit to 0 shots in 7.5 minutes. And then all of a sudden they go down and score on their first shot in 7.5 minutes. But I think even PK Subban said it in the intermission report. Like, I don't know what Chris Letang's thinking there. He's such a good defenseman. Like, what? But that happens at least once a game. At least once a game, there's some like decision that he makes with the puck or to pinch, and it's like, man, for being in the league all these years, you would think your instincts would be better. But Carlson does the same thing. He just kind of is better at making up for it sometimes. But yeah, I just think if he would simplify his game a little bit more and just focus a little bit more on his defense rather than trying to always be an offensive, cog, I think that he would be amazing. And I'm not ready to call him a liability. His plus minus actually surprisingly is not as bad as you would think it would be, based off of some of the, like I said, bad decisions and bad turnovers and things that he has. But yeah, I mean, to make a long answer even longer, I would say just simplify your game and pay a little bit more attention to the defensive aspect of things. And, Dan Muse, maybe a little bit load management, in the situations that I said earlier.
Father Time is undefeated, and you just got to realize it. I mean, he made those bonehead mistakes when he was younger too, but he had the talent and the speed to make up for it. And now not so much. So, yeah. How's Jack St. Ivany being done? I hear mixed things. Like, is he actually a thing? Can he stay up here?
Yeah, he when he came back from injury, he had a stretch of really good games. Like, he kind of was like shot out of a cannon, so to speak. I think more recently he's struggled a little bit, but I think it's just kind of like the leveling out. Like, it was almost like he was playing off of like pure adrenaline those first couple of games that he was back. And now, he's kind of finding what his actual game is. I think he brings a different aspect. He's physical. Again, there aren't many fights anymore, but he can fight if needed. I am surprised at how often he's in the lineup. Like that he hasn't been a healthy scratch, just because there's such a logjam of defensemen on this team. You would think you would want to. I would think Dan Muse would just kind of rotate some guys in just to get them game time, but he has not been scratched since he's come back off of being injured. I know that they really, really like him. I just think that he's a solid sixth defenseman, a lot better sixth defenseman than most teams have. But that's what he is. I mean, he's a fifth, sixth defenseman, just going to play that steady game. And I mean, it tells you what the team thinks of him, that they waived Graves again. And honestly, Graves wasn't playing that bad, but they would rather have Graves either get claimed by another team, which would obviously be an ideal scenario because of his contract.
Yeah.
But it says a lot that they would rather have Graves in the minors with that big contract than up here instead of St. Ivany, in the minors. So I think that says a lot about what the organization thinks of him. And yeah, I mean, again, I think he's just going to be that kind of steady fifth, sixth defenseman. Not the same style of play, but it almost reminds me of like a Chad Ruedel like type, where he's just going to be that steady guy back there.
It's amazing that it was thought that the left side of the defense would be a liability, and it's actually been a strength. Wotherspoon has been great. Shea has been great. Is Kulak doing okay, or is it too early to tell?
I think he's slowly fitting in. I think that he's actually been a little bit of a, I don't know what the word, calming presence, as far as like kind of a more steady defensive defenseman back there. And obviously he has so much experience with the Oilers the last couple of years with the playoffs and everything. I think that it's kind of, him arriving kind of has coincided with the better play defensively. I'm not saying it's solely because of him, but it's almost like a little bit of a steadying veteran presence back there, and I think that's kind of helped, with the way how well defensively they have been playing lately.
Yeah. So the Olympic break is basically almost the whole month of February.
Yeah.
And it's obviously Crosby with Canada, Carlson and Raquel with Sweden, and Seeloff's made the Latvia team.
Yeah. So
I'd make I'm sure Latvia is winning the gold medal, but that means that January is just going to be. It seems like there's a game every other day. Which, I mean, this whole schedule this year is going to be crazy because of the Olympics.
Yeah, this is it started out crazy. New Year's Day, and then the home and home, the New Year's Day, and then to Detroit, and then the next night in Columbus. Three games in 4 nights. Really 3 games in less than 4 nights because the 2 of them were afternoon games, and then they do have a little break here. They don't play until Thursday, but then the weekend they got Calgary on Saturday afternoon. Then they go to Boston on Sunday for a 5:00 game. Then they come back home, Tampa Tuesday, and the Flyers on Thursday. And then I think they go out to the West Coast, the Calgary,
the
Edmonton
West Coast trip, Seattle, Calgary, Edmonton back to back, and then Vancouver. So that's always fun, that West Coast trip. It's
it could go. It seems like those West Coast trips are always like turning points of the season.
Right.
I think it was last year, they had a disastrous trip through Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, where they blew a lead in Calgary with like 5 seconds left in the game, if I remember correctly, and then lost in overtime. That might have been 2 seasons ago. I can't remember, but it always seems like those 4-game trips through Western Canada and Seattle, they always seem to be some sort of turning point in the season. So we'll see what happens after that, because I think there's only a couple games after that before the Olympic break starts.
So yeah, it's a crazy January. Just a couple games in February. Basically, it's from the 6th to the 25th, the Olympic break, and then March is the trade deadline. March 6th. Yep. We're exactly 2 months away from the trade deadline. So. Oh, and also March is absolutely another,
they play like every other day and back-to-backs too.
Yeah, so it is going to be a wild schedule. We're about halfway through, and we did not expect the Penguins to be doing this well. So we'll see how they do in the second half. But it is going to be fun. It's you always like when there's a rebuild, and a rebuild is going well when they're ahead of schedule. So
yes.
That speaks well for it. And I mean, it seems like, I will never doubt Kyle Dubas again. He is working miracles right now. So no complaints here.
It's a fun team to watch. Could be like the other night or the afternoon in Columbus, they never gave up, and it was like, you could feel that they were going to come back in that game. And they're just a fun team to watch. The power play, the energy they play with, the fourth line is even fun to watch. So I think that's the difference, at least in these past, 7, 6, 5 games. They're a fun team to watch. And like last season, there were definitely long stretches where it's like, this team is not fun to watch.
Yeah, it was a struggle watching them. So we will see. So how can people find you, follow you, and get more of your work?
Yeah, on Twitter, you can find me at PGHVC, and you could also visit my website, vincecom.com. I post articles up there. I try to do them once a week. I have one up there right now about Mario and Crosby and Sid passing Mario, and all kind of stats about players who lead their franchises in total points. And it's just, I'll give you one stat from that article, and then you can go read the rest of it. The amount of points that Malkin currently has would rank first for 25 of the 32 NHL teams.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And he's third on the Penguins all-time list. Yeah. And I think if you go further down the list, Yager is fourth for the Penguins.
I was going to say he's ahead of Yager. That's impressive.
Yeah, his total.
Then again, he's been around for 20 years. So.
Yeah, exactly. Even Yager's total, don't quote me on this, I think would be number one. Just his total with the Penguins would be number one for like 15 franchises. It's wild. We've been really blessed at Pittsburgh as far as that goes.
It is absolutely amazing. And I mean, they tanked. Was Malkin in the same year as Ovechkin, which was the year before Crosby, but because of all the things of literally sneaking him out of the country and all that stuff, he was delayed in coming in. But they really wanted Ovechkin, and they only settled for Malkin. It was one of those few times that getting the second overall pick was actually still a good thing. So,
oh, for sure.
I think it really benefited Malkin too, because if he did go to another team, I'm sure he would do well, but I think he's just in an ideal situation because he does not want to be the guy. He's so happy that Crosby handles all that.
He handles the media, he handles all the press, and he'll talk when he wants to, and he actually is a very funny character, and he has a great personality. But yeah, I think he's very happy that Sid has been here all these years to kind of handle that stuff.
The reporters will try to ask him questions like, "Hey, Sid's over there. You want to talk to him, don't you?"
Yeah,
it's just funny. So yeah, he ended up in the ideal situation, and hey, if he keeps playing well, you kind of have to bring him back, right?
Yeah, I guess that his agent and Kyle Dubas are going to sit down over the Olympic break and talk about it. I think I mentioned this the last time. I would never do anything more than a 1-year deal with him.
Right.
But if he keeps on playing well, maybe you do a couple of 1-year deals. I mean, that's what Mario was doing at the end of his career. He would sign himself to a 1-year deal every year.
That had to be tough negotiations. That was so weird. You're the owner, and also you're the best player. How do you? Yeah, that was weird.
It was.
But anyway, hey, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, no problem. Anytime.
All right, I'll see you.